is always an honor. It is always a pleasure. It is always our duty to welcome in the godfather of the Sports Cubicle, the founder of the Rewind Sports 60, your friend, our mentor, one of the staples in our industry, the one and only Jerry Riles. Jerry, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hey, my God, thank you so much, man. It's been a while since I've joined you guys on the Sports Cubicle, and it's always a pleasure to be a part of it. I missed the hell out of you guys. Your shows have been fantastic, no question about it. But thank you so very much for reaching out and inviting me to join the two of you, Devin Tingle and Michael Mercado. I really appreciate it, fellas. So yeah, let's rock and roll.
Yes, let us do it here on the Sports Cubicle with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, Paul Chivari joining us later throughout the show. Of course, Devin Tingle, myself, Mike Mercado, the one and only, the Godfather, Jerry Riles joining us. Jerry, you guys are doing some amazing work with this brand new show, the pregame and the Bears recap, and you're doing it every Thursday. Some of the best hitters in our city when it comes to our industry, covering the Bears, talking sports, are joining you to talk about it. We want to talk about all that in just a little bit, but everybody wants to know the last 3 games, the Bears 2-1, the Monsoon game, the Lambeau Field game, and then the Lovey Smith game. All the questions about Justin Fields, your vibes, your feelings about the Monsters of the Midway, this Matt Eberflus-led team, this Ryan Pace roster, your thoughts, what you've seen at Soldier Field the first 3 games of the NFL season.
Oh, wow. That's quite a build-up for sure. And honestly, it's I don't know. It's kind of hard to, everyone projected the Bears to win anywhere from 4 to 7 games, and rightly so, because they have a very young team. They have a very inexperienced team. Offensively, specifically, I'm talking about. So many of us were calling it a rebuilding season, and Justin Fields he's in a tough situation to be the leader of a rebuilding situation with very limited weapons on offense. Makes it extremely difficult being a second-year player in the National Football League. You guys remember when the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes actually went out during that early part of the season with a knee injury, came back, ended up winning the Super Bowl, and he said after winning, he confessed that, hey, I still can't read NFL defenses. So to expect Justin Fields to be able to adjust to the defenses that he's faced thus far, it's asking for a lot from this young kid. He's very skilled, he's very talented, and I carry the flag for him, obviously for a couple of reasons, but the main reason being a former Ohio State Buckeye. I bleed scarlet and red, and Justin, when he came to Chicago and was drafted, it brought a tear to my eye. I know what this guy can do. Many of us know what he's accomplished on the collegiate level and what he's capable of doing. Unfortunately, it takes some time to translate it over to the professional ranks. But here's the one thing I want people to keep in mind and understand. And Justin, with all due respect, said, hey, I had a bad game, which he did. He said, I had bad games in the past before, which he has. But one thing that people don't realize and understand with Justin Fields is the fact that when you look at the offensive side of the ball for the Bears, he is probably the most fundamentally sound athlete on that offense. He is probably the most mentally prepared, a football mindset for this football team offensively. So when you see him tripping over his lineman's feet, yeah, it looks clumsy, and to the naked eye, it's like, what is this guy doing? But if you actually take a look at it and break things down, Justin Fields is so used to being disciplined, running plays exactly the way they're expected to be played. But if your offensive line's footwork, and we talk about footwork with big linemen, if their footwork is off, even by a slight step, it's going to cause some misconfusion, some mistakes. It's going to cause some problems. And that's what I think we witnessed in some of the incidents that took place with the Chicago Bears last weekend. Again, and then you don't have a real serious weapon. Unfortunately, David Montgomery got injured. He got hurt, so he ended up leaving the game. And kudos to Khalil Herbert for the great job that he was able to perform in the last week. But Justin Fields doesn't have any real weapons. Darnell Mooney is double covered most of the time, maybe triple covered at sometimes, depending on what the schemes the defenses are throwing at him. And so, who's your second option? Well, now St. John is your second option on the receiving end, and then we know that Cole Kmet just got his first pass, of the season, so he's not a threat at the tight end position. So now, what do you do if you're Justin Fields? You've limited in throwing your passes because you don't have anyone to throw the ball to. Your best running back is down. Now, Khalil, what he rushed for 157 yards and taking over for Montgomery. Mm-hmm. Well, the Houston Texans game planned for David Montgomery. They did not game plan for Khalil Herbert. So when he got in and started busting it up, it was a surprise to all of us, and it was a surprise to the Houston Texans and Lovey Smith. But teams are going to start scheming against them, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the offensive line adjusts, how they protect, and what the running attack for the Chicago Bears is going to look like moving forward.
Deb?
Jerry, we're talking about the Bears as of now, and we bring up Lovey Smith from last week. I want to go to the good old days, which is very hard to believe with what we've seen from the Chicago Bears in the past 10 years or so. But 129 modern-era NFL nominees were nominated for the 2023 Hall of Fame. 4 names that stand out to me are Devin Hester, Lance Briggs, Charles Tillman, and Olin Kreutz. And Jerry, basically, do you think any of those guys are going to make it into the Hall of Fame class of 2023?
I think it's the only one really that may have a shot. Is probably Peanut Tillman. And I say that kind of in a disappointing way because what Devin Hester did in the National Football League, not only for the Chicago Bears during his tenure, but for the league overall, was unprecedented. And even Deion Sanders talked about the way that this kid was able to perform at such a high level because he's the only one at the corner and return man who was able to accomplish such great feats in the amount of touchdowns that were scored, the fact that he was able to elude kickoff teams and things of that nature and change the game for the Chicago Bears by flipping the football field. So I think Devin Hester deserves to be there, but we know that he converted over to a receiver, during the latter part of his Bears career. He wasn't as effective, but it's very hard for a return man to be looked upon, despite what his accomplishments were on the field as a Hall of Fame caliber player. But I do believe with Peanut Tillman, and it's interesting, kudos to him because he certainly worked his butt off and he earned the right to be considered a Hall of Famer because I don't know if you guys remember when he first came into the league, he was so bad. He was really terrible. And a lot of fans were calling him burnt peanut or toasted peanut because he was getting beat so much and receivers were taking advantage of him and he was out of position. He wasn't reading, the offense and the routes precisely enough to be able to defend against defenders. And so offenses were exploiting him. And until he was able to create and succeed at a high level with the peanut punch, he was almost on the brink of being, traded and almost out the league. He had the skill, he had the talent, but it just didn't come together for him. And fans were all over Peanut Tillman. I mean, I remember burnt peanut, toasted peanut. They were all over him. But once he got everything together and he came up with that peanut punch, and you hear it now today, everyone talks about it around the league, the peanut punch. That changed the scope of his career, and it put him above the top of the top as far as superior athletes are concerned, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So he's probably the only one I think that really has an opportunity to get in. Lance Briggs was a great player, but I mean, he played with Brian Urlacher, and it's that might be a push for him. but I just don't know. He's probably on the edge. And Olin Cruz was an outstanding leader on the offensive line for the Chicago Bears. He was very, very effective and the type of leader that the Bears needed. I just think with him, some of his character issues may be, challenged, and it might hurt him. But that's just my perspective on those players regarding the Hall of Fame.
This is why, Jerry, we love you. This is why we call you the Godfather, because not only can we break down what we're seeing every single Sunday, but we also are able to take a look back at this franchise's great history. And that is why what you are doing with Thursday Night Football pregame and Bears recap is fantastic. You're bringing in guys and gals who are not only continuously covering this team, but on and off the field, but also know the history of this team. And that doesn't stop this coming up weekend, weeks coming up. Tell us how this all came together and how much you're enjoying doing this new venture over at the Rewind Sports 60, as Jerry Riles joins us here on the Sports Cubicle with Devin Tingle, Paul Chivari, Dan Marver, and myself, Mike Mercado. Thursday Night Football pregame Bears recap. Tell us all about this.
Well, and I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. I was presented with an opportunity. There's a place out in Glenview called Dee's Place, and it's a soul food cuisine restaurant, beautiful restaurant at the Glen. If any of you have been out there at the Glen in Glenview, you got to stop by. It's fantastic. But I was presented with an opportunity to bring the Rewind Sports 60 back. If you guys remember, if you're following the Rewind Sports 60, we broadcast from Serenello's and Wheeling for about 2.5 years. Pre-pandemic, and then when the pandemic occurred, we shut things down. But we got this opportunity a few weeks before the regular season of 2022 NFL season to bring the show over to Dee's Place, and I was extremely excited, but a little bit hesitant. But we decided to pull the trigger and go on and get out there, and we're heading into our third week. Tonight, as the taping of the show, we are Thursday Night Football. We've got a big game on tap, but we got some great guests who are going to come out and join us. To launch the show a couple of weeks back, we had the great Hall of Fame journalist, former Tribune columnist, and Bear beat reporter Fred Mitchell come out and join us. He was fantastic. And of course, 3-time All-Pro safety for the Chicago Bears back in the 90s. Mark Carrier was in the house as well. And it was just so much fun. Last week, we had an opportunity to bring on the great Mark Carman, who's doing some fabulous work at WGN Radio and of course with Chicago Bears podcast. And we had the great former ESPN AM 1000 host Terry Kinowitz in the house as well. So it's been a great show so far, and we're going throughout the rest of the regular season. Tonight we're going to have Chris Zurich on, a former Chicago Bears standout, and of course the great Mark Grody, WSCR 670 The Score Bears beat reporter, joining us as well. We're also going to have a Dr. Chad Padromas. We do the sports medicine update report with Dr. Padromas, but he's going to talk about the situation regarding Tua Viola, the Miami Dolphins quarterback, who, if you guys remember, just last week he was hit dropping back in the pocket. He bumped his head and he got up really woozy, and we know all the controversy surrounding that. If the Dolphins went through the proper protocol to see about the concussion situation, he came back on the football field, and many thought that was the wrong decision. So we're going to have Dr. Chad Padromas on tonight to talk about that. And as far as a human interest story is concerned, we're going to turn our focus down to Florida with Hurricane Ian and the devastations that's taking place down there. A good friend of mine, former colleague, she's a meteorologist down in the Florida area, Amy Sweezy, is going to chime in with us as well to give us an update as far as the conditions are down there. So we're looking forward to a great, fantastic show tonight and every Thursday throughout the regular season. And we definitely want to have you guys come on out and not only enjoy, 90-minute show leading up to kickoff on Thursday nights, but we want you to enjoy the fabulous food at Dee's Place The chicken is outstanding. It's outstanding. Mark Carrier, who you guys may or may not know, is an administrator, sports administrator at Loyola Academy out there in Wilmette. And he said he loves the place, and he's always over there getting their fried chicken. But I definitely want to get you guys out. We get some grub on and just talk some sports, man, and lead up to Thursday Night Football. So thank you for the opportunity.
Jerry, thank you for the opportunity. We are so proud and excited to see all the awesome work you are doing. You continue to be a staple of Chicago media and Chicago sports media, and we can't wait to enjoy some delicious cuisine and some better football every week as we get deeper into the season. Great food and great football. Are you kidding me? That is the Jerry Riles special over at the Rewind Sports 60. Jerry, thank you so much. I can't wait to do this again. Any final thoughts for your people here at WCPT, the city of Chicago, the true loyalists of the Riles experience?
Yeah, I love you guys. I miss you guys. But listen, I'm going to hold you to it. I want you guys to come out and do the Sports Cubicle on Thursday Night Football. We'll break it down. You bring out the marvelous one. I miss him. Mercado, you come on out. Tingle, you come on out. I want you guys out there. We'll do a round table and we'll break things down. The Bears game, we'll do the whole 9 yards and we'll get our grub on. But, I miss everyone over at CPT. Mark Penske is a gem in its own right. Joan Esposito, Santita Jackson. Paul Chivari, Matt Cummings, I miss all of you guys. I really, really do. And it was a great time while we were doing the show over there. And who knows, maybe we'll get an opportunity to come back to WCPT 8:20 a.m. But I know you guys are kicking butt and you're holding down the fort, and keep up the great work for sure.
He's the one, he's the only, he's the godfather from the Rewind Sports 60. Join him every single Thursday. It's Jerry Riles. We'll be back with more here on the Sports Cubicle. It's the marvelous one, Dan Marver. It's Paul Chivari. It's Devin Tingle. I'm Mike Mercado.